everybody. My dad thinks his podcast is amazing, so please subscribe, give it 5 stars or whatever, and maybe he'll finally stop talking about it. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
What's up, everybody? I'm Ryan. This is Jess, and we are Sober as Fuck. Before we get to today's special guest, especially to me, we want to remind everybody to make sure that you're watching us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting. Anything else I missed out on that?
Y'all right there, buddy?
Yeah. Been a long day.
Stumbled through that one there.
I got through it. It's all right.
I wanted to look at you and go say special one more time.
Special.
Great.
It's very special. Special.
That was a special intro. Right
there you go.
So quick trigger warning, other than, be aware that Ryan apparently is partially with us today. We do talk about any and everything you can think of, from addiction to self-harm, grief, all of the things. So prioritize your mental space. And if you hear something or start feeling triggered, please take care of yourself, log off. But assuming you stick around, before I say who our special guest is, I would like to point out that before we started this episode, sorry, I'm picking an eyelash out of, or lack thereof, out of my eye. School started back end of last week, middle of this week, 2 different kids. So they have been in school a total of, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, like one of them has been in for maybe like 5 or 6 days. Well, one of them only like 5 or 6 days, the other one 3 days. And I have already gotten a crying call from the nurse. Not the nurse crying, the child crying.
A hurt tooth.
Yeah, my tooth hurts.
My tooth hurts.
My tooth hurts. Come pick me up. I did not go and pick said child up because she's fine.
Yes.
And oh my God, Mom, my alarm didn't go off. I'm freaking out mode.
Yeah. And now the yonder pouch, which is the big thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole episode on its own.
And mind you, in the midst of all of that, I had some weird eczema flare up, eyeball skin infection that happened. I should post a picture of that on
pretty gnarly
thing. And my eye swelled shut and it was a thing.
That was a thing. It's been a week.
Stunting is a habit. It is.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, I'm really excited about this guest.
Yes.
This is someone who was like a front runner for your health and wellness.
Yeah. So I met I call her Coach Christa because that's what she is to me. In the early stages of my sobriety journey, she had a couple meetings throughout the week that I always attended. I don't know what it was. We just vibed. And then as we started to get to know each other, whether, through meetings and things like that, it was like, okay, we have this sports background to get, just a lot of really cool things that that meshed. And when I did my speaker share about 1.5 years ago, I couldn't think of anybody else to have, introduce me, bring me on other than Christa. And she did, and it was great. But she has meant a lot to me because she did this, little goofy challenge thing, and it got me off my ass. And not only did it get me off my ass, but it got me to kind of branch out and meet people in the sober community. And ever since then, I've just ran with it and didn't stop. And I owe her so much. I can't wait to meet her to give her the biggest hug, because she's meant the world to me in my sobriety journey. So all that being said, I'm ready to bring her on and let her tell her story. Please welcome Christa Camarillo.
Ryan, you're going to make me cry. I'm sitting here going, oh man, it hasn't even started yet. Wow. Thank you for that. Yeah, well, that might happen.
Well, thank you so much for being on. This has been kind of a thing for me for a while. So that's probably why I stumbled in the beginning. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of weird. You know, you share in meetings sometimes, and I'm on this platform all the time. I can talk and talk and talk, but for whatever reason, when I got to talk about my own shit in front of a bunch of people that I can see, I still get a little nervous. And I
Sure.
know you're able to see me, so I get a little nervous talking.
Oh, I
But thank
understand.
you so much. I mean, I feel like I owe you so much. I mean, you really did get me off my ass. It's not like you know directly told me to do it. It's just something in me kicked, and I just started doing it. And I can't believe where it's kind of taken me and where I've ended up. It's crazy. I can't thank you enough. That's for damn sure.
He's
Well,
always been a sucker for a woman who can kick his ass.
That's
I'm just gonna say, like,
I love it. And just to watch your journey, Ryan and Jess, that both of you and what you've built is just, it just warms my heart. I love it so much. And I do watch you all, and I'm just kind of a behind the scenes person, but I can't wait to meet you as well. It'll happen. I promise you. It'll happen. We'll make
yeah.
it happen.
Well, thanks again. So let's talk about your story. You know, your relationship with alcohol, how that changed. You know, I don't know if it was like a singular moment or like a lead up, but if you could kind of get into your story and let us know how that was.
Yeah, yeah. So it's certainly not your story. And I do remember you sharing. I think we broke the record on that night for the
Yeah,
longest story share. It was amazing. It is interesting to hear everyone's journey in relationship with alcohol. I was having a little discussion with Jess prior to us recording, and mine is really interesting in that, as I was telling Jess, I don't really feel that I went down per se the addiction road like a lot of my patients and clients have, or people I've worked with. Mine was sort of that sneaky, subtle gray area where I hit in 2021, where there's just this culmination of so much in my life that I've shared in other spaces, and being around maybe having the wrong energy in my life, because I can look back now and say this perfect storm of situations came up for me, and the tools that I always call on, whether it be family or exercise or really positive strategies, just fell out of the wayside for so many different reasons. They just weren't accessible to me. And I hit this moment in around 2021 where I was really questioning so many things in my life. And one was my relationship with alcohol. And having lost family members to alcohol and having that run in a side of my family, again, it was something that I didn't ever grow up with uh, around me, but I grew up in New Orleans. And when I look back now, it's quite the drinking city. And when I look back after some of the stories I'm about to share with Hurricane Katrina, I do believe there are so many people that are teetering on that alcohol use disorder and or gray area drinking. And it was just something growing up, I being an athlete, maybe having a father who was a Marine who scared the crap out of me, that I would not go down that road or I'd get my butt kicked. But just having the discipline, and even into early adulthood and even into my 40s, it was never something that was problematic. Uh, so it snuck up on me in a way that for me was incredibly impactful. And it really impacted me physiologically, emotionally. And it really also was the defining moment where I had to clear the clutter from my life and recognize that the vibration I was vibrating at was probably the lowest moment for so many reasons. And it certainly wasn't like your story, Ryan, where when you've shared where you've hit some moments, or it was more, a little bit more like Jessica, where there was defining moments. So when I think about my relationship with alcohol, I always say what was impacting. And I will, if I'm talking or coaching someone, I'll say, if they're asking me, well, they're in my DMs, I'm not sure about my relationship. The first question I say is, if you're questioning it and you're asking if you need to change your relationship, chances are that there's something there, because we're very intuitive. We know ourselves. We know ourselves better than anyone. And so that's the question I was often asking. And I found myself asking, is it impacting my personal relationships to some degree? Not in a positive way. Yes. Was it impacting my work relationships? Yeah, it was. I wasn't showing up the way that I wanted to, and I knew I could, and I wasn't getting shit done. And lastly, I recognized that I wasn't showing up with my self-care. I wasn't feeding myself in a way that I always knew how to, and I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. And there's so much to unpack there with shame, blame and shame, not being able to give myself care. Instead of, going for my workouts, I was not getting things done, or I was having an extra glass of wine, or having that Cosmo. And then of course it spirals into not taking care of how you're eating and how you're, the places that you're going. I mean, the gym or the yoga class or the spins class isn't going to have the same surroundings of people, if you will. It's just a different energy, and I wasn't, I just wasn't that person. And I recognized that I had to really, really leave a relationship, never to talk negatively about any partners or relationships. But that was definitely a moment where I found myself in gray area drinking, self-medicating, take full responsibility for that, but also not recognizing I just need to leave. Having an injury, not being able to exercise was just another excuse. Having family members come down with sickness, where I have some family members who can no longer speak. And when you sort of lose a best friend and confidant, that's an emotional labor you don't impact. Being a healthcare professional working in the middle of COVID and moving to a new state where you don't have a community. So it was this just culmination of stuff that, although I've had so many challenges, it just came down and it happened. And when I made that decision in 2022, it was the day that I went no contact with a former partner. I came home. I was so emotionally exhausted. The body does keep the score. Great book, but it really, really kept an awful score with me, because when you finally come to this physical moment and you come to a mental moment, the body, for me, I remember saying this to a friend who is a nurse. I took some time off. I said, I'm going to go in my house, and I think I'm just going to go to sleep for a while. And I'm only going to ask that you do one thing. I'm going to give you a key, and I'm going to ask that you check on me every day, because my phone is going off. I need to rest. And for 2 weeks, I lost 2 weeks of my life. I don't even remember eating much. I may have remembered her coming in and checking on me, but I just planted on that couch, and it was like I let go of everything that I needed to go. The ego, the shame, for how I was showing up, for how I didn't show up for myself. And it was just a moment where, for me, that if that's a rock bottom moment, I don't know, but it certainly was a moment where I said, okay, we have to do things differently here. And yeah, 2 weeks of my life, I just still to this day don't remember. And I really believe that was just my body. Finally, my nervous system is so activated, and we all can relate to that. With even without alcohol, how our nervous systems, how we get dysregulated, how we don't know how to energetically show up for people, or we show up too much and then we're giving too much of ourselves. So yeah, I think it just came down to the body just needed to stop, and I'm so grateful that it did.
Yeah. Well, in that 2 weeks too, like you say that you lost that 2 weeks of your life.
Yeah.
You extended
Feels
your
like you
life
found
by
your
way
life.
more than 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and Ryan is new to this concept, but I have moments like that as well, like in those dark moments. I haven't had one in a minute, but like where I'll be like, I slept all day.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're so right. I mean, it's true. Your body does keep count.
Sure.
And it always wins one way, shape, or the other. They're like, it's like you can either give it to me nicely and kindly, because I'm asking very softly and gently, or I will take it by brute force. It is your choice.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. My story is very similar. You're right. We talked about it before we started recording. For me, it was more so that I was contributing to something that was trying to kill everyone I adored and loved, you know?
Yeah.
And I called alcohol my abuser,
Your
not
abuser.
because, yeah, or like you meet people out and about and you're like, oh, well, they've always been nice to me. Like I've never had a bad experience. They've always been nice to me. And then you find out these horror stories about the things they've done to other people, right? But they've always been nice to you. Well, are you okay with it just because they're nice to you? If they're doing these horrible things to people you care about, is that someone that you still want to have a relationship with?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's kind of how it was I don't want to be tethered to this thing that's trying to take something away from me. And you're right. I definitely didn't feel good. I would imagine same thing for you. You have a headache, you have GI issues. You have this tendency, even if you don't consider yourself dependent on alcohol, we naturally, just for societal reasons, have this tendency to, oh, I need this glass of wine. I've deserved it. I've earned it. I'm so tired. This, that, or another. I mean, we made a joke earlier, but kids have been back in school for a week and I'm fucking exhausted just because your schedule's off, right? It's not even that you're lacking. Your body is just like, oh, this isn't normally what we do. And you're stretching yourself a little thin and you're tired. And then you couple something like alcohol on top of that, and it's like a fucking disaster. Yeah. So after that 2 weeks, like, you're in this deep moment. What prompted you to get up? When did you know, like, okay, it's time to like get moving?
Get it together, move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was a culmination, I believe, of this, what alcohol did for me. What I recognized in that moment is I have had many periods where I've had very traumatic situations happen to me in my life. And what I wasn't recognizing was that part of me turning and going into this gray area was me also responding to what I now know to be a trauma response, and pushing through it in a way that I did in my life where I thought I was okay. And we tend to push through things. And as a athlete, we push through things and we dig deep. And what I found with those 2 weeks working with a therapist, I'd been working with this particular therapist for about a year and a half prior to me having this moment. So she was very much on board with helping me unpack some things that I never had truly a professional, help me understand in the way that she did. And I can't say, I have to say this because there are a lot of people who are trauma drinkers or self-medication type drinkers. And what was the turning point where I got off my ass was that I was still working through it, and it hit me going, wow, you know, during that 2 weeks and prior to that 2 weeks, there was so much self work. I mean, I think I have every book, but when you have someone on the other side who's helping you, there's self-help, and then there's that professional who helps you unpack it and make sense of it. And the turning point for me in that 2 weeks was having a conversation with this person who just explained to me, Christa, what you are in is a freeze and fawn mode. And you've been operating for so many years in fight or flight. Just go, 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 go. Push through it, and go on to the next thing. That your body has now gone into a freeze and fawn mode by what you were experiencing, the relationships that you were in, again, full responsibility for staying in something, but also not realizing. And when someone, for me, the way my brain works, maybe being a scientist, maybe overthinking things, just a little.
No way. We never overthink
No, not
things.
me. It made sense. And when things make sense to me, when someone can explain it and I understand it, I went, oh my gosh, that's what that was. And then there's just validation, one, that, wow, that's what that was. Someone explained to me where I just thought I was lazy. I thought maybe I was depressed. And what it really was manifesting is as a cumulative complex trauma response that just finally my body just couldn't do it. And then I had to start, like I said, I started going down this road where I was in that gray area. And for me, that is a lot. I couldn't imagine spending my life. I don't think I would be able to have survived going through what I hear stories of clients and patients of years and years of misuse and abuse and seeing family. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. So that was the
Yeah,
period where I just went, wow.
yeah,
Oh,
and
that is.
obviously therapy plays such a big part, at least that I see,
Yeah.
with a lot of people that have taken an alcohol and pushed it aside. I know for me it was a big turning point. The first year seemed, I mean, it flew by, and honestly for me, it was a little easy.
Yeah.
It was just, it was all these, milestones ever so often that you're always celebrating and, looking for high fives from everybody. And, it's all kumbaya. And then after that year hits, then you're like, well, now what? And that's when you really
Yeah.
start, at least for me, I really started having to do the work on me.
Yeah.
And that's when, I got a therapist and, we were digging into the why.
Yeah.
Why do you have to drink every day? Why do you feel like you have to gamble all the time? Why can't you let shit go and just, work on your marriage and stuff like that? It was mind blowing that, how much a lot of this stuff started in a younger age
Yeah.
and started in athletics and stuff like that. It's stuff I didn't really think about that really just, it all snowballs into this big thing. And, you don't have to have a rock bottom moment. Jessica really didn't have one. I mean, I had one, if you want to call it a rock bottom moment. For me, rock bottom is when you can't get up in the morning. So
Yeah.
we just have these moments to where you finally just wake the fuck up and say, I can't do this shit anymore. It's not serving me. It's not helping my body. It's not helping my health.
Yeah.
And that's where I really resonate, when you were done with therapy, and obviously I don't know if you still, do that or not, but
Oh, yeah.
what kind
Absolutely.
of kept you going? What kept you going after that? Was like, community? Did you work any type of system? What kept you going after that?
Yeah. Well, let me just say, comment on what you said earlier, and then I'll move on to that. But you're right, Ryan.
Yeah.
The real work starts when you're at a year, because the first year I see it a lot. I saw it a lot in the spaces we worked. There's this pink cloud people go through. There's this sense of community. There's this, numbers game for some. And then you get to a year and you realize, there's other shit I have to unpack here. This is not, it isn't, the alcohol was one route. It's one tool, but not a positive tool. But what's really at the root, the why, or whatever it is. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. That can be really tricky for people because they're like, oh shit, what do I do now? So yeah, I still work with someone, and unfortunately, the therapist I was working with suddenly passed away in November last year. And that was a big blow to me because we say to ourselves, how are we going to unpack this with someone? But I bring that up to say there's so many resources. And for me, I don't work a program. I don't work a system. I'm very comfortable, again, with being around alcohol. I'm not the person that if I want to have a drink, I could have a drink. It doesn't impact me the way that it does people who are in true addiction. And I'm not saying that to trigger anyone. It's just to say that this period of gray area, I think, is more common. I have so many people in my life now that I work in these spaces and speak in these spaces. The most common question I get is, I think I'm drinking too much, or what's gray area drinking? And Jess and I were talking about this. It's tricky for people. So what keeps me going is being able to have conversations and give back to my community and give back to people, not only from a clinical standpoint, but a speaking and coaching standpoint, because I believe we have a lot more in common than we don't. And alcohol is so common. And there are so many people who are teetering on this fine line of, I'm not that person, this image of what a person who's addicted should look like, but I'm here. And I think that's really important. So working in spaces such as this, making sure that I understand how I respond to trauma. I'm the kind of person where I would tend to isolate, take care of it myself. And I know that doesn't serve me. And I also understand where it's coming from. So I use a lot of tools to say, oh, what is that? Oh, that's what's happening. So I have friends, I have exercise, movement, I have community that I'm establishing, and just making sure that every morning I check in and I do 3 things. I write 10 things I'm grateful for. I write 3 people I want to send love to, and I do some free writing every day. And that's been really helpful for me as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that gray area. And I mean, I always tell Ryan, that's where the majority of people exist, is in this gray area, right? We're not as extreme, polars as we want to believe that we are. No one is alone. You are one of a million stories, like all of those things.
Yeah.
With that said, addiction, drinking, drug use, it falls under this umbrella of all mental health related things, right? So the drinking, the drug use, whatever it is a symptom of the problem. Yeah. And so, like you're talking about that pink cloud, that's why after a year, you're like, oh my God, I did it. It's like, right. You healed the infection, right? Yeah. So you'll love this. I use this all the time because I have a very science brain and was in healthcare for a very long time. And so I'm like, okay, like if you cut your finger, like very simple cut, like you're just chopping vegetables, cut your finger. You've done it a million times. You slap Neosporin on it, put a Band-Aid on it. But it continues to fester and get worse, right? And you should go to the doctor and you should get it looked at because you know that you can have a hand amputated, but that doesn't happen to me. Like that's something you see on Grey's Anatomy, whatever. whatever. You don't know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And so you continue to do it, and eventually it gets so infected. Well, obviously, the first thing you need to do is to treat the actual infection. You need to clean and treat the infection. Okay, great. Well, once that infection is cleaned, okay, you still have to allow that wound to heal on the inside and figure out how it got so bad.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do? What happened that you were lacking that you didn't take care of for it to get that bad? Because otherwise, if it's poor hygiene, not washing your hands properly, whatever it is, the next time you cut yourself, it's just going to do it again. Right. And so any sort of use is like that as well. So you get rid of that substance, you go to therapy or you do these things, but like until you figure out what the core of that is, it is this wound that is going to continue to reopen. And so I find that though for me, I had this gray area drinking, a lot of my mental illness, binge eating, other things were more my compulsive behaviors. Whereas with Ryan, his gambling and his drinking were his compulsive behaviors, and his, mental, like the way that he handled eating and exercise would have been his gray area. Right. So there's a root of that compulsive behavior with anyone who, and I would say the vast majority of people. And then when you're trying to gauge, I think it's interesting that you say, like, your clients or people will talk to you and say, do I have a problem with drinking? And it's because society glamorizes it so much that in
Sure.
order to, and I felt like this a lot, like in order to step into this world, of the sober community or any sort of space that you feel is tailored to helping people stay sober and mentally sound, like you have to earn some sort of like badge of honor or like be some sort of like prisoner of war, right? Where you have that medal that you can say, I belong here.
I've went through some
And you
shit.
don't. You
Yeah.
don't. And it
Yeah.
can be that way. And I see more and more spaces break that. And the interesting thing for me was I started my mental health journey years before Ryan actually got sober. And we talked about that on our podcast too, about how that really was triggering in some ways. He was existing in this pink cloud the first year he was sober, and I fucking resented it. I was like not happy. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I think it just is, right? Like it just is. But for me, I remember thinking, so you're just like the hero in the story now? Like, good for you. And I know that sounds horrible, right? Like I don't really feel that way, but it was this, you're so happy and you're so successful in your sobriety. And then you have someone over here who is still I have a full circle. It's a trauma response because I'm still dealing with this residual trauma, not just from you, but from other things. Cause I've had multiple traumas in my life as well. And so that really made me realize how much more work I really needed to do. We actually had a conversation about this the other day where he's like, why don't you talk to me about these things? You should tell me these things. And I said, well, it's not that I don't want to talk to you. It's that I'm speaking of a person who no longer exists. That's my trauma that I have to deal with. And did you cause some of it? Sure. This is not a blame game. Like this, it's not, that part doesn't matter, but I'm speaking about someone who no longer exists. I can't project that on to you. We'll work that shit out in therapy. But like, that's another thing as well, is when you take that ownership of, I'm not trying to not get angry or not get sad or not get triggered. People always, we live in this society where like, don't feel pain, don't feel any negative emotion, rather than saying that's going to happen. Like, I'm a human. Like, I'm going to get pissed off. I'm going to get triggered. I'm going to get sad. I'm going to get annoyed and irritated. But what I do with that is me. I have 100% control over what I do with that. And when you reach that level, it truly is like powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
But you
Absolutely.
don't have to you don't have to end up like drunk, under a bridge. I'm trying to think of some like movie montage,
Sure,
like
sure. There's the
Diaries moment in order to like earn your right to
yeah.
get there.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting. No, I
Mhm.
get that because when I started really, working in these spaces and really posting in these spaces, there's that response of people who are like, "Oh, what happened to her?" What she must have. And I'm like, "No, I just changed my relationship." But what it did by, doing that, I also had to now fully feel what I needed to feel. Again, I used other things to, for example, exercise. I was an ultra cyclist. I'm not sure I'm proud of that because of what I was recognizing as I was cycling to kind of probably get dopamine in
Mhm.
my brain because of things that I was unpacking for years and years and years because of trauma.
Mhm.
Do I want to wear that with a badge of honor? I'm very proud of it, but I see those things. So yeah, people are like, "Oh, now," and I was like, "Yeah," and I could see why I was getting dopamine from a shelf because the inner wound, right, was me unpacking trauma by myself for so long that I finally had help. I finally had someone on board. I finally became so vulnerable, and I'm such a vulnerable person. I'm so about that. If you need to cry, you cry. I'll wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a Cancer. I like to say I'm a
so me
recovering
too.
Cancer. I'm a
I'm a
recovering Cancer. Yeah. So I already am very intuitive. I'm very much that person where I will have the deep conversation with you. I'm just that girl, and it's not for everyone. But to be able to do this with help has been so healing for me. And you're
Mhm.
right, there's a symptom. And I say, luckily for me, I didn't have the kind of relationship with alcohol that many people I see do, but it was enough for me.
Mhm.
And it also led me to recognize that when you're not distracting yourself with something else, you have to dig deep. You have to look within and you have to work on those things. And it gets a little easier because you're unpacking these layers, you're unpacking the onion, and you're being able to process what it is in a way that is healthy, and you're able to do it with a clear mind, and the body catches up. And for me, that's amazing, an amazing feeling in general, just when we're just taking care of ourselves. Uh, it's amazing how we can heal ourselves emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever you call that, source, God, I don't know. But it's all connected. And when we're misusing something in our life, whether it be drugs, alcohol, even exercise, we're blocking that. We're blocking that ability to be able to show up for ourselves. We're pushing down, what I always feel is the universe is always sending us signals and signs. They're sending it in the form of people. They're sending it in the form of books. But if we're not energetically there to show up and be present, we can't receive it. So for me, I get that. That's how I move through my life.
Mm-hmm. So I see why you like her.
I
I see
told
why you
you.
like her. No, I'm totally like, I have a little girl crush on you, I think. I resonate with all of that. I am an ultimate believer that every single that nothing is inherently good or bad, right? Like those are words and concepts that we as humans put on them so that we can understand.
Yeah.
But every person, every situation is with the intention to learn something. And
Yeah.
that's part of that too. When you open yourself up to it and you recognize and you just take that moment, it goes back to that trying to suppress pain or what we consider to be negative feelings, but your body will speak to you. Situations will speak to you. And we have just become so conditioned to go, oh, that hurts, or I don't like that. I need it to go away right now.
Yeah.
I need to go away right now. And especially coming from a medical standpoint, it's like, look, like we don't want anyone to be in chronic pain. But at the same time, these are your body's signals like, hey, maybe something's wrong, maybe not, but like, you just need to like pay attention to this right now. And I was talking to my friend the other day. It's like any mental gymnastics that you have to do in order to justify making something okay probably means it's not okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are very, very, very few things that really are like right there on the fence. But, you know, alcohol, drugs, we know those things are bad, right? Like just to put it very simple, it's bad. Alcohol doesn't do anything good. It's not ever safe. I don't care what research or whatever you have in you being a medical professional understand. It's bad. 100% of the time, it's bad. Same thing with drugs, only in very rare instances in a medically supervised, like hospital situation. And even then it's not 100% safe. It's just you're outweighing the risk versus the reward, right?
Right.
So those things, they're not easy. That's a horrible way to say it. It's not easy to take those away, but those are the more obvious things. When you get into things like exercise, eating, like binge eating thing for me is what I struggle with the most. But if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, I don't have that problem. I don't have an eating or body dysmorphia. The fuck I don't.
Right.
I do. And that I struggle with that more than anything. Like the fact that I have to figure out what to eat all the time, every day to nourish my body and keep me alive sucks.
Yeah.
I hate that. Some people would be like, what are you talking about? I want to eat for enjoyment. I don't want to eat out of necessity. I will literally just choose not to eat. But those things, like you're talking about exercising on the outside, it's like, wow, like you are a cyclist and you're, you know, doing all these things. It's harder to gauge. I know I have to be active. I know I have to eat. I know I have to sleep. I know I have to bathe. These seem like very, very menial tasks. But when you get sober and you clear and you're doing that deep work, you realize, fuck, like, this is hard because these are things I have to have to survive, but I have a tendency to dip my toe in the water and go all the way over here. If I eat too much or exercise too much or do too little, I'm literally going to die. Like, how do you do that? And so, you know, a lot of people don't recognize that. And whether it's drugs or alcohol, whatever it is, when you do that deep dive, you realize like just the allowance you give your body to say it's okay. Like it's okay if it's hard today, and it's okay if it's easy tomorrow. Just keep going, drink some water, eat a fucking vegetable every once in a while. Okay. Just like once a day, just throw one in there. Just walk on the treadmill, or maybe don't cycle for 1,000,000 miles. Maybe just like 5, you know, like, that's hard. That's way harder than it sounds. And that's how you know you're like in the thick of it. I see that with this guy over here. You know, he wakes up every morning and he's like, ow, my body hurts. And I'm like, I wonder why. He's like, no, I think it's my shoes. I have the wrong shoes. I'm like, yeah,
I'm really bad at
it's the shoes. That's what it is. He's like, no, I'm telling you. So then like, you know, hundreds of dollars in shoes later, he's like, oh, I just need to go back to my original shoes. They were great. I'm like, or is your body telling you maybe you need to slow down on the running a lot?
Right.
No, that's not it. I was like, of course not.
I've been journaling about that the last week. That's like, it's every day. It's like, what can you change or what can you improve at? And it's one word. It's rest. Every single day.
And I make a joke out of it, but in all seriousness, that's a hard one because that's like the thick of what your whole sobriety journey was, like 75 hard and exercising and even like, you know, you kicking his ass into gear and all of that. So for someone to say you need to step back from that, that's like telling you like, you need me to step back from my recovery. Like that's not, I'm not going to do that.
Well, I will advocate for rest. I say, this is my little acronym at the hospital and with my clients. I always say exercise and nutrition is the peanut butter and jelly, but the bread or wrap that holds it together is your rest. And if that comes first, I will always tell my patients that, and my clients, is your rest is your recovery. When you sleep is when your body makes its good cholesterol. It's when we repair, and it's when we rejuvenate. And I believe even this year, we talked about it, I contracted COVID for the first time, and it took me out. And I think I was doing all this work, but I started to overwork again. And I do believe that I kind of set myself up for that. So the acronym that I use for pain is this: pay attention inward now.
I like that a
Pay
lot.
attention inward now. And you could then retrain yourself to maybe journal, maybe take a day of rest. Because when there's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual pain, pay attention inward now. That's what I do. I don't push it aside. I don't try to push through it. I don't try to work around it. I go right through it. And I pay attention. And what is my body? What is my spirit? What is my surroundings telling me? So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need to take that advice, because so I started into running, like, I don't know how many months ago, and I started running these races now. I just sign up for them. I don't give a shit.
Of course you did.
Well, I did. It's just an idiot. And I just bought my first bike today, by the way,
Okay.
because I had to pivot. And I'm thinking, okay, so I've got planners, and these races are starting to fuck me up. So I'm like, what can I do? I can cycle. So I'm going to start doing it.
Peloton's really going to help.
So now I'm cycling.
Right?
So
yeah.
But it's just funny because, like Jess said, I have a hard time. I can't just take a day and sit.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It's something I need to unpack at some point.
Yeah.
But it's like I've always got to be moving. So I just find all this different stuff to pivot when I get injured.
Yeah.
It's insane. I don't know why I do it, but I love that acronym. Like, I'm going to steal it. I'm going to use it.
Fine.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
I'm like, we know why you do it.
Yeah.
You really don't know why you do it? We know. You let us know when you figure it out. We'll talk.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's true. And Ryan, I'm not sure, I know with your hockey and your background, for a long time being in a team sport, I found when I was unpacking trauma and what I know that to be now, again, all the self-help, but navigating this process, I tended to want to always train and do things alone. And there's a high association between ultra endurance athletes and depression. You see it in Olympians. You see people who go. There's a lot of school of thought, a lot of athletes who talk about, after, it's kind of like the come down after they do something and they need to. But people like Lindsey Vonn talks about it. We know it's Simone Biles, and I had to also learn, because I used to just do things on my own. I was a team sport, but I trained alone. It's like I work alone.
That's me. 100%.
What I found is I need community. So yoga, it's with people. Things that, cycling, I try to do spin classes where I have a wonderful community, and it's different but I love it. But I still know that there's that side of me. Just the other day, I'm like, gosh, I've never felt more beautiful physically, emotionally. I'm not nearly where I want to be, but I feel so great. Gosh, I love myself. And I'm like, maybe I can go do that 100-mile ride now I've been wanting to sign up for. I haven't done a century ride in a while. And I have to catch myself and go, okay, are you doing this for the right reasons?
Yeah.
Are you chasing something? So that, for me, doing group things has been helpful too. So
I just had the funniest image. This happens to me. So I'm OCD and ADHD and all the things, right? So I have squirrel moments. And just to pivot for a second, so we both had very, very strict upbringings. I was not an athlete, but I danced and did musical theater and all of those things. And my mom, who was fantastic, if I complained about, oh, I hate this dance class, she signed me up for like 3 more with the same teacher, right? So that same sort of thing. But I just had the funniest little image, cartoon image, like once upon a time, I would have been scared to like find you like in a closet, like drinking. And I feel like when you finally meet Christa in person, I'm going to be like, where are they? And you guys are going to be like outside, like bicycling like crazy. The mice that like get caught. Like, we weren't doing anything. We weren't doing anything, you know? Like, I bet you with another woman, but you guys are just like secretly like cycling together.
I'll show you.
Hilarious.
You know what I mean? And I'll be like, golly, kids, relax, overachievers.
No. Yeah.
Well, I've got to pivot for a moment because I think I heard the gentleman by you. Is Noki near you?
He's downstairs. He's barking.
Okay.
He's downstairs. I couldn't bring him upstairs because he starts to get, all up in his face.
Yeah.
So I put him downstairs. So
I was telling Jess he has his own Instagram page, and it's like it's the best thing in the world, and I love the name. How did you come up with the name Gnocchi for your dog?
So actually, the person I got him from, he looked like a little potato gnocchi dumpling, small. So on his Instagram is his baby picture, and I just thought it was so cute. I'm like, I'm not changing that because he's a little potato. He's just a little dumpling. So I just named his Instagram Gnocchi Tales, like gnocchi stories, because he doesn't have a tail, so it's Gnocchi Tales.
Aww.
It's a cool follow. You got to check it out.
So what kind of dog is it?
He's a French bulldog, but he's my sporting dog. He's probably the most active Frenchie you'll ever see. He has a little life vest. He goes down to the beach on a daily. He's been a model for, Petco, and has his little endorsement through coveralls, decals. I'm trying to get with Bay Dog. Hey, Bay Dog. He's so cute. Yeah, I know. Listen to me. I need to build his platform here. So and everyone knows him in the neighborhood because his decals on the side of my car. Because when he drives with me, he drives in the back seat. He has a little seat, and people always at stoplights are like, "Who's him?" So now he has his little decal, and when the window goes down, it's just so cute because he brings so much joy to people. His little face, and people are like, "Oh my God, who's that?" So I have to make a video reel of us going around the city in Cannery Row here in Monterey, because when the tourists are out and we're like rolling down the street where his favorite pet shop is, people will see him sitting in the car with his little decal, and they're like, oh, and it just, their faces light up and they're taking pictures of him. And I'm like, oh, we got to get a video of that because it just
that's all.
I love animals.
Yeah.
I love them.
We can have
2 dogs, but ours are little shitheads.
Oh yeah,
I love them.
Yeah,
but,
they're little turds for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us about what you're doing now with your coaching and how people can find you and all that good stuff.
So I wear a couple hats. I still work in the clinical spaces with the heart and cardiac rehab, and I do speaking. So I'm really, really working now. I'm rebranding. And working in the alcohol reduction spaces for speaking on the impacts of alcohol on the heart and mindset as a speaker. And I'm also identify as a queer woman. So I'm really, really honing in on working with the LGBTQ community plus community, as specifically lesbian and bisexual women, change their relationship with alcohol, because within the LGBTQ umbrella, it's lesbian and bisexual women who have the highest rate of alcohol use disorder. So I'm in the process right now. I just had a meeting this morning with my business partner and really rebranding, redoing the website, and working more on speaking and really going into a little bit of niche coaching, because I really want to support my community. And I think it's a wonderful way to give back and really shed light on something that is, as we talked about the whole podcast, can destroy and kill you. And working with the heart, I see it every day. I see patients coming in with atrial fibrillation as a result, heart failure. So you could find me on Instagram at Christa Camarillo Official, same on TikTok and on LinkedIn under my name, and my website in process of being rebranded, but ChristaCamarillo.com. So
I love it.
Awesome.
I'm going to pretend to be cool real fast. And just a quick nod to the LGBTQI plus community thing. The little tiny little, what is the little tap thing that Lily does? She's
Clock it.
14. Clock it. Here we go. This is, I support. Yeah, when I worked in nonprofit healthcare, a vast majority of the patients that we helped were women and marginalized groups.
yeah,
Lots and lots of trans folks, specifically. So
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
those, especially like queer Black women for
Mhm.
sure are like
Yeah.
the most at risk and
Sure.
the least likely to report and seek help. And
Seek
there's
help's
a
a big
whole
thing.
distrust
Yeah.
in medical care. So that is
Absolutely.
fantastic what you were
Yep.
doing, Krista.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so clock it for Krista.
That's right.
I'm not cool at all, but you
You
know.
are cool.
So before we get you out of here, we always ask our guests to kind of think back to kind of your funnier drinking days
Okay.
and maybe give us a funny story, whether it involves you, it could involve a friend. If it involves someone peeing themselves, it makes it even better. But if you could think back to an
Falling.
old falling story, we would appreciate it.
Oh yeah. So this is probably, well, in college, being an athlete, we did not drink. So we had an agreement, but I do remember this. It was my senior year and we just beat Wake Forest. So I think it pushed us to number 2 or 3 in the country and it was a big night. So we had a party. And for some reason, maybe I drank. I met Jack that night, Jack and Coke. I never had Jack again after that. The next morning, I wake up and I have my friend calling me and she's like, "Did you check your car?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Check my car." I'm like, "What do you mean? What's wrong?" "Oh, no," because I didn't drive, just full disclosure here. She goes, "Go down in your car, check it out." I was like, "Oh, God." I'm like 20 years old. Like, shit, definitely was hungover. And I had a bunch of cones, like those cones that they put out on
Oh yeah,
those
the
big cones.
small little cone. Oh,
Yeah,
the
they're
big
like
ones.
the
Okay,
big ones, not the little ones, the ones.
Yeah.
So apparently at some point on the drive home, I made the decision to pick up the cones out the door in the window. And I had like 5 or 6 fucking cones in the back of my Pontiac. And I'm like mortified, I'm so straight. I'm like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "Who did that?" And they're like, "You."
You did it.
I don't remember doing that. And I had like 6 cones. I'm like, "Well, we just got to get them back." And they're like, "We don't know where we got them from."
Where
And
you go?
oh my God. So I think in the like late, dark of the night, I'm like, "Well, we're going to find it. Of course we're going to find." And then we're just laying them out. I'm like, "Oh my God, I could get arrested," and all that. Yeah. So the cone story, it's like,
I love
I
that.
love that.
I love the whole stories of you wake up the next day and things are in disarray and you're like, what kind of idiot did this last night?
yeah,
Like, you guys
asshole.
did this. And then everybody's like,
Look in the mirror.
It was
Well,
you.
I was adamant. I'm like, "Who the hell did that?" And they're like, "You."
Not funny, man.
"Who is that? You motherfucker." Oh my God.
You're like, no way. And then I can tell too, because the athlete rule follower, you're like, let's put these back, guys, like right now,
Oh, we got in so much trouble. We got in so much trouble because we had the party and, we were, but we just celebrated. It was just a true college. It was such a big night. But God, yeah, yeah, the cones.
And being an athlete on a very strict, like, you never drink.
Yeah.
You only
Oh no.
Yeah,
it's like
crazy.
you're 2 beers in and you're like sloshed. So I can only imagine.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was awful. It was awful. I never drank bourbon or Jack Daniels after that ever. Jack and I met. I was like, that's the night I met Jack.
Yeah.
Jack. I'm like, "Oh, no, Jack. Jack and I met and it was not good and it involved cones." So
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing.
yeah.
Well,
Right.
well, Krista, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It was such a
Yes, my
pleasure
pleasure.
having you on.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
And great work. I'm so proud for you, Ryan. I really am so proud of you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
All right. If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to get
Boom.
notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.